You've probably come across the polished travel ads and viral posts online, the ones filled with dramatic mountain skylines and flawless hiking paths covered in fresh snow. Those images sell a fantasy of a tough but beautiful wilderness where every day feels clean, healthy, and carefree. But there's another version of the Centennial State that tourism campaigns and real estate listings would rather you never see. Most conversations focus on soaring housing costs, forcing residents to leave. Yet an even darker and more dangerous reality is quietly taking shape underneath it all. We're talking about cities where crime levels compete with some of the most notorious urban areas in the country, where the air quality can literally shave years off your life, and where aging infrastructure is buckling under relentless overcrowding. Before you start dreaming about life near the Rockies and loading up the car, it's critical to understand which neighborhoods and zip codes have become daily nightmares for the people stuck living there. As this journey unfolds, we'll pass through a town so foul-smelling it earned a nickname for the stench, and we'll finish in a city that now carries the grim title of the state's murder capital. If protecting your safety and peace of mind matters to you, these are places you'll want to eliminate from your plans without hesitation. We spent countless hours digging into the hard numbers and uncomfortable facts that most people prefer to overlook. So if you value us pulling back the curtain on these heavily marketed destinations, tap that like button and think about subscribing to the channel. It genuinely helps keep fuel in the tank for these road trips. And while you're at it, leave a comment if you've ever set foot in Colorado. Now, buckle up, lock the doors, and roll the windows up. Because we're about to hit the road and explore the state's darker side. Number 10. Grand Junction. Our trip kicks off on Colorado's western slope. As you head west along Interstate 70 and leave the ski towns behind, the scenery slowly transforms, trading dense alpine forests for wide stretches of high desert terrain. That transition brings you into Grand Junction. At first glance, it appears to be a dream spot for outdoor enthusiasts, especially with the Colorado National Monument sitting right next door. It's easy to assume this would be an ideal refuge from crowded cities, promising a calmer lifestyle and more affordable homes. But that sense of remoteness comes at a serious cost, particularly when it comes to safety and community stability. Grand Junction's position along a major interstate drug trafficking route has helped spark a growing crisis that continues to worsen. Data from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation shows the city regularly ranks near the top statewide for crime on a per capita basis. Once you dig into the statistics, the situation becomes hard to ignore. Property crime here is reported at nearly twice the national average, meaning leaving your car parked overnight can feel like rolling the dice. According to Neighborhood Scout figures, residents face a 1 in 23 chance of falling victim to property crime, an alarming number for a city that feels so far removed from big city turmoil. And the concerns don't stop at stolen bikes or smashed windows. Violent crime has been steadily increasing as well, driven largely by widespread meth and opioid abuse. Local police have acknowledged that a large share of property offenses are directly linked to drug dependency. The effects are visible throughout the community, with more transient populations and open drug use showing up in parks that were once considered safe, family-oriented spaces. Health data adds another troubling layer. Mesa County public health officials report suicide and overdose death rates that exceed the state average, highlighting a mental health system stretched far beyond its limits. There's no denying the natural beauty surrounding Grand Junction, but the community itself is under strain. In my view, while the scenery may be top tier, everyday life here often means staying more alert and cautious than you should have to be in a city of this size. Number 9. Greeley. We're leaving the mountains behind now and heading northeast onto Colorado's high plains. As you get close to our next stop, there's a good chance you'll notice it before the city even comes into view. Locals call it the Greeley smell, a thick, unavoidable blend of feedlots, slaughterhouses, and meat processing plants that lingers in the air. While that odor is what the city is most infamous for, it's not the main reason Greeley earns a spot on this list. The bigger issue is growth, fast growth. Greeley has been expanding at a rapid pace, and with that expansion have come big city problems that local infrastructure and law enforcement haven't been able to keep up with. For a long time, this was a quiet agricultural center. But the crime data now tells a very different story. FBI statistics show a sharp increase in violent crime over the past decade. Aggravated assaults, in particular, have climbed significantly, leaving certain areas feeling unsafe once the sun goes down. The violent crime rate here now exceeds the national average by a troubling margin, and these aren't just minor scuffles, we're talking about serious, life-changing incidents. Car theft is another major concern. According to the Common Sense Institute, Colorado ranks at the top nationally for motor vehicle theft, and Greeley plays a sizable role in that distinction. The odds of stepping outside to find your car missing are far higher here than in most mid-sized cities across the country. Local police are stretched thin, trying to manage a population that has ballooned without a tax base large enough to support proper staffing and patrol coverage. Crime isn't the only deterrent. Environmental conditions add another layer of concern. It's not just the manure smell, it's what's actually in the air. Weld County, where Greeley is located, has the highest concentration of oil and gas wells in Colorado. Air quality monitoring reports have documented elevated levels of ozone and volatile organic compounds. Living here means inhaling a mix of agricultural dust and industrial pollution on a regular basis. From my perspective, the non-stop sensory overload combined with increasing safety risks makes Greeley a tough sell for anyone searching for a genuinely high quality of life. Number 8. Colorado Springs. We're heading south now, following the Front Range toward Colorado's second-largest city. For years, Colorado Springs was marketed as a more conservative, family-oriented alternative to Denver, framed by postcard views at the foot of Pikes Peak. That image, however, is starting to fade fast. The word is out, and an overwhelming surge of new residents has pushed the city into a state of constant strain. If you're imagining a quieter life with less congestion and fewer urban headaches, think again. Colorado Springs simply wasn't built to support the massive population it has absorbed in a short period of time. Traffic is no longer occasional, it's constant. The I-25 corridor has become a daily bottleneck where accidents are increasingly common and patience wears thin. National transportation analysts have ranked the city among those experiencing some of the fastest worsening commute times in the region. Crossing town can now cost you hours of your day, trapped in stop-and-go traffic. But congestion is more of an annoyance than a deal-breaker. The more serious concern is the rise in violent crime. Police in Colorado Springs have reported record numbers of homicides in recent years, with violent crime levels now sitting well above the national average. Areas that once felt quiet and predictable are seeing more drive-by shootings and signs of gang activity. This is no longer the sheltered community many people remember from the 1990s. Housing adds another layer of pressure. Home prices and rents have surged, while wages have failed to keep up, creating a growing homelessness problem. Encampments are increasingly visible along walking trails and creek beds that used to be points of local pride. Census data shows poverty rates climbing in certain zip codes, alongside a widening divide between those who are getting ahead and those being left behind. From my point of view, Colorado Springs is dealing with intense growing pains. Until the city gets its infrastructure under control and brings violent crime back down, even those stunning mountain views don't make up for the daily grind. Number 7. Commerce City. We're now moving into the northern suburbs of the Denver metro area, and this stop may be the most environmentally dangerous of the entire trip. Commerce City is a major industrial hub, but for the people who live here, that industry often comes at a serious cost to their health. The massive Suncor oil refinery towers over the area, shaping both the skyline and the air residents breathe every day. If protecting your lungs and long-term well-being matters to you, the environmental data tied to this zip code deserves very close attention. The pollution here isn't speculative or exaggerated. It's well documented and deeply concerning. The Environmental Protection Agency has repeatedly cited this area for ongoing violations of federal air quality standards. Locals describe ash-like residue settling on their cars and chemical odors creeping into their homes. One recent analysis found that this part of the metro area contains some of the highest concentrations of benzene and hydrogen cyanide in Colorado, both of which are recognized carcinogens. Living here essentially means your body is absorbing and filtering industrial byproducts on a daily basis. Health outcomes reflect that reality. Research from the state health department shows residents in these neighborhoods experience elevated rates of asthma and heart-related illnesses compared to other regions in Colorado. In effect, people are paying to live in an environment that is actively working against their health. Water quality raises additional alarms with persistent concerns over PFAS contamination, often referred to as forever chemicals, in the local groundwater supply. As if the environmental risks weren't enough, crime adds another layer of stress. FBI statistics show property crime in Commerce City running nearly twice the state average, with theft and burglary especially common. Residents are hit from both sides, targeted by criminals while also exposed to hazardous pollution. It's especially tragic because housing prices can look appealing on paper, yet the long-term health costs are enormous. Honestly, it's hard to imagine resting easy at night, knowing what's lingering in the air just outside your window. If this kind of breakdown is helping you avoid a costly relocation mistake, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us get these warnings in front of more people. Number 6. Aurora. Just east of the state capital sits Aurora, a massive, spread-out city made up of dozens of neighborhoods that can feel completely different from one another. Despite that variety, one troubling pattern has come to define Aurora in recent years: a sharp rise in lawlessness. The city has become ground zero for one of Colorado's most persistent crime problems: motor vehicle theft. If you're attached to your car, this is not a place to let your guard down. Figures from the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority consistently place Aurora among the worst cities in the country for car theft on a per capita basis. The problem has grown so common that residents half-jokingly say they check for their car every time they walk out of a store. That humor hides a very real consequence. Insurance rates in this area have skyrocketed because the risk is so high, meaning you pay extra simply for listing an Aurora address on your policy. Property crime isn't the only concern. Violent crime trends are equally alarming. The Aurora Police Department has acknowledged ongoing struggles with increased gang activity and aggravated assaults. Several widely publicized shootings in public places, including shopping centers and parks, have deeply shaken families and eroded the sense of everyday safety. Overall crime levels here sit well above the national average, with violent offenses continuing to rise year after year. Aurora is also wrestling with deeper structural issues. While new developments continue to sprawl outward, the city's core systems haven't kept pace. Surface streets are chronically congested, and there's a noticeable lack of community connection. Rather than feeling like a unified city, Aurora often comes across as an enormous, loosely managed expanse. Emergency response times add to the concern, with reports indicating delayed police responses to serious incidents due to staffing shortages. From my perspective, Aurora is struggling to maintain control of its streets. Until officials rein in organized theft rings and bring violent crime back down, this remains a risky place to put down long-term roots. Number 5. Federal Heights. As we drive just beyond Denver's northern border, we roll into a place that immediately feels tight, crowded, and overwhelming. This is Federal Heights, a city that spans barely 1.8 square miles, yet somehow manages to carry the weight of problems you'd expect in an area 10 times larger. You could miss the city limits sign in seconds along Federal Boulevard, but the change in atmosphere hits you instantly. The landscape is packed wall-to-wall with mobile home parks and aging apartment buildings, creating a compressed environment where poverty and crime feed off each other. When you break down the crime data here, the numbers are unsettling. FBI statistics consistently place Federal Heights among the highest in Colorado for violent crime per capita. Statistically speaking, you're more likely to face a violent incident here than in the larger suburban communities just minutes away. Property crime is just as troubling, running close to twice the state average. Residents frequently report car break-ins, theft, and vandalism, which creates a constant undercurrent of stress and insecurity. Economic hardship only adds fuel to the fire. Roughly 20% of the population lives below the poverty line, well above the national average, locking many families into an ongoing struggle to get ahead. Median household income here falls far below that of neighboring Jefferson and Adams counties, shrinking the tax base needed to fund meaningful improvements. Infrastructure problems are impossible to ignore. The water system is outdated and prone to failure, with residents regularly complaining about poor water quality and recurring pipe breaks. Signs of neglect are everywhere: cracked sidewalks, worn-down strip malls, and fading storefronts along the main roads. It feels like this area was left behind while the rest of the metro region surged forward. In my view, Federal Heights stands as a cautionary tale of flawed urban planning, where concentrating vulnerable communities into a tiny, underfunded space has produced a risky and unhealthy living environment. Unless you truly have no alternatives, this is one stop you'll want to permanently remove from your GPS. Number 4. Denver. Now we're heading straight into the center of it all. Welcome to Denver, the mile-high city. For years, this place was held up as a dream landing spot for millennials, transplants, and outdoor lovers chasing that perfect work-life balance. But what you experience on the ground today is very different from the image that sold people on moving here. As you make your way through downtown's cracked, pothole-filled streets, the mountains fade into the background. What stands out instead are the sprawling tent encampments. Denver's homelessness crisis has grown into a full-blown emergency. Point-in-time counts show the unhoused population has jumped by more than 30% in just the past few years. This isn't just about appearances or aesthetics. It has completely altered the city's safety landscape. Crime data paints a grim picture. Denver now ranks near the top nationwide for catalytic converter thefts and motor vehicle larceny. Leaving your car parked on the street overnight feels like a nightly gamble. Violent crime has also surged, with aggravated assaults climbing more than 15% year over year. And the risks aren't limited to crime alone. They're in the environment itself. Denver's notorious brown cloud of smog, which gets trapped against the foothills, has earned the city a failing grade for ozone pollution from the American Lung Association. On many summer days, air quality levels are considered unhealthy for sensitive groups, a harsh contradiction for a city that markets itself as a hub for wellness and outdoor living. Traffic only adds to the frustration. The average Denver commuter now wastes more than 50 hours a year stuck in congestion, a figure comparable to much larger coastal metros. Meanwhile, the cost of living has exploded. Home prices have doubled over the last decade, but wages haven't kept pace. Residents are paying premium prices to live in a city struggling to deliver basic safety, cleanliness, and infrastructure. In my view, Denver is coasting on a reputation it earned years ago. The vibrant, optimistic energy that once defined the city has been replaced with a tougher, grittier reality. Today, it feels less like a place to build a life, and more like a place you endure. Number 3. Alamosa. We're leaving the bustle of the Front Range behind and heading far south into the wide-open San Luis Valley. On paper, a small remote town like Alamosa sounds like the perfect escape from city problems. In reality, that assumption couldn't be more wrong. This stop is proof that rural living doesn't automatically mean safety or peace of mind. Alamosa functions as a regional commercial center for a vast agricultural area, but it has also become a crossroads for drug trafficking and violent crime, at levels that are shocking for a town this size. Statistics from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation reveal a deeply troubling pattern. Alamosa regularly posts a violent crime rate nearly 4 times higher than the national average. When adjusted for population, the number of assaults and robberies here rivals some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in large U.S. cities. The opioid and methamphetamine crisis has torn through this valley with relentless force. Health records show overdose death rates in the county ranking among the highest statewide, ripping families apart and driving a cycle of break-ins and theft driven by addiction. In Alamosa, the odds of being a victim of property crime are about 1 in 18, an eye-opening number for a place where many people expect to feel safe, leaving their doors unlocked. Economic hardship intensifies every one of these problems. More than a quarter of the population lives below the poverty line, creating widespread desperation. Due to the town's isolation, mental health services and addiction treatment options are limited and chronically underfunded. Specialized help is often hours away, leaving a small, overstretched police force to manage a constant flow of serious crime. It's a tough, unforgiving reality set against stunning natural surroundings. In my opinion, Alamosa may be the most misleading location on this list, because few people expect a quiet farming town to function like a statistical danger zone. If you've ever been surprised by how different a small town really was compared to its reputation, drop a comment and let us know. Number 2. Sheridan. We're heading north again to a tiny pocket of land that exists as its own city on paper, yet feels like a risky extension of Denver itself. This is Sheridan. It's an odd geographic outlier, made up mostly of big-box stores, warehouse zones, and a handful of tightly packed residential blocks squeezed in between. That unusual setup creates a perfect storm for crime statistics. During the day, Sheridan's population balloons as shoppers and workers pour in, while the number of actual residents stays relatively small. That imbalance pushes crime rates per capita to some of the highest levels in the entire state. The figures coming out of this city are staggering. Overall crime here runs more than 300% above the national average. While a large share of incidents involves retail theft and commercial break-ins, the impact doesn't stay confined to storefronts. Crime spills directly into nearby neighborhoods. Car theft is especially rampant. Motor vehicle theft rates are so extreme that Sheridan ranks among the worst places in the country to leave a car unattended. Violent crime adds another layer of concern, with roughly 10 incidents per 10,000 residents, a figure well above accepted safety thresholds. The social and economic indicators don't offer much relief either. Schools in the area have struggled with some of the lowest performance scores in the metro region, and graduation rates trail behind the state average. Poverty affects more than 1 in 5 residents, highlighting how limited economic advancement has become for people who live here long-term. Living in Sheridan often feels like setting up home in the forgotten back corner of an aging shopping complex. You're surrounded by constant traffic, noise, and the rough edge of the Santa Fe Drive corridor. In my view, there's virtually no separation between residential life and the criminal activity drawn to the commercial district, making this an exhausting and high-stress place to call home. Number 1. Pueblo. We've reached the final, and most alarming, stop on this journey. About 2 hours south of the state capital sits Pueblo, long known as Colorado's Steel City. It carries a proud legacy of hard work and industry, but today it holds a far darker distinction. It is widely considered the most dangerous city in the state. If personal safety is high on your priority list, the numbers alone suggest keeping your distance. This isn't a story about minor nuisances or low-level crime. What defines Pueblo right now is serious, life-threatening violence that has become woven into everyday life. The city's homicide rate has climbed to heartbreaking levels. State crime data shows that murders per capita here frequently double, and in some years even triple, the rate seen in Denver. Overall, violent crime stands roughly 150% above the national average, driven by armed assaults and gang-related shootings that occur with disturbing frequency. Gang activity in Pueblo is deeply entrenched, often tied to long-standing, multi-generational affiliations that make it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to dismantle. Violence isn't the only concern. Property crime is relentless, with burglary rates soaring and car theft remaining a constant risk for residents. The economic backdrop only makes matters worse. Pueblo never fully bounced back from the collapse of its industrial base. Unemployment consistently runs higher than the statewide average, and close to 1 in 4 residents' lives below the poverty line. That economic strain feeds directly into an ongoing drug crisis, with some of the highest rates of opioid prescribing and abuse in the region. Aging infrastructure, struggling schools, and an overstretched police force round out a system under intense pressure. My honest assessment is that Pueblo is operating in a state of crisis. Until there's a deep, systemic turnaround, moving here means taking a serious risk every time you step outside your front door. And that brings us to the end of the list. Colorado is undeniably stunning, but as we've seen, natural beauty can sometimes mask a much harsher reality. From polluted air in places like Commerce City to the violent streets of Pueblo, the state faces challenges that go far beyond high rent and home prices. Looking past the postcard images and understanding the crime trends, environmental hazards, and infrastructure problems is essential before making a move. We hope this breakdown gave you useful insight and helps you make a safer, more informed decision about your future. If you found this video valuable, please do us a favor. Like it, share it with anyone considering a move to Colorado, and make sure you're subscribed for more honest, no-filter breakdowns. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next road trip.